enabling these really important programs here in West Virginia. To those of you who may not be as familiar, community solar offers the benefit of solar to those who can't go solar due to things like shading or home ownership status, or if you have financial obstacles, maybe you just prefer not to go solar. And it really provides the people who face these obstacles with a way to reduce your energy bills, save money, and live your values. So it really gives us an opportunity to still, really be able to take advantage and benefit from everything that solar has to offer, just in a different way. So before we get started, I just wanted to go over some general housekeeping. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we're all probably pretty used to Zoom by now, but you can access the mic and speakers by joining the computer audio, and you're also welcome to dial in by phone if you're having any issues related to joining our audio. Also, if you have a question during any point in the presentation, you can please submit them in the chat box. We ask that you can submit it to all attendees, just so that way, if anybody else is viewing the webinar may have the same question as you, so we can all kind of see them. And we will save questions out loud for a participatory Q&A at the very end of this meeting as well. You're also welcome to use the raise hand feature when we do that Q&A. That's going to be located on the toolbar at the bottom of the page. And we are also recording this webinar, and we're going to be sure to share the link to the webinar in the days to follow with all the folks who RSVP'd. So if for any reason you need to leave or want to revisit anything that we touch on today in the future, or if you want to share with a friend, we encourage you and welcome you to do so. And that's just pretty much our Zoom housekeeping 101. And so we're very excited and just as grateful to be working with the partners who are listed on this slide here. So I wanted to give a shout out to these folks who are helping to spread the word to increase access to solar in West Virginia. And that's Chaberton Energy, Dickinson Renewables, the West Virginia Environmental Council, Solar United Neighbors, and West Virginians for Energy Freedom. So these are just a subset of the groups who are working on this issue here in West Virginia. We just all worked on this webinar this afternoon. And then I just wanted to touch a little bit more on West Virginians for Energy Freedom. As we move forward to try to enable these programs here in the state, you're going to see a lot of outreach and education opportunities come through West Virginians for Energy Freedom. And so this at West Virginians for Energy Freedom is a coalition of neighbors, organizations, businesses, public officials, and others who believe that all West Virginians should have the freedom to invest in and benefit from locally owned renewable energy and energy efficiency technologies. And so we really are looking for those freedoms to not be inhibited by the government, utilities, and that these folks should really, our decision makers and regulatory bodies should be acting in the best interest of West Virginia electricity customers and ratepayers, and empower them to reduce and manage their energy bills, in addition to boosting the state's economy, creating good local jobs, and providing greater energy security and safety here in the state. Unfortunately, when it comes to accessing cheaper renewable electricity here in West Virginia, our choices are fairly limited. And so we're going to talk more about how we can work to expand those opportunities here in West Virginia. So I'm going to hand it back over to Jillian. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah. And just before I hand it over to Danny, I just have a quick poll. I wanted everyone, hey, Linda, do you think you can help launch this poll all of a sudden?
Would you like me to stop sharing my screen?
Perhaps. Okay, let's see if that'll work. Hang in there with me, guys. All right.
Jillian, I think I can do it. Is it solar roadblocks?
Yes, please. Yes, I just kind of wanted to get a feel for, maybe you're interested in solar, but you've been unable to access solar and what those roadblocks were. and you can click as many as you like. Did it go up?
Yep, responses are coming in.
Cool. And I'm not able to see them, so if you could just let me know, we'll just give everyone a minute to let us know, are you a renter? Does it just seem financially unavailable? Are you not interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Or is your roof, do you need a new roof? So just like to hear where people are.
Okay, so the results are in. It's looking like about 33% of folks are renting their homes or live in an apartment building. 61%, which is the majority of this poll, it's just too expensive, or maybe the financial resources are not available. 22% of folks have an unsuitable roof or an obstruction of some kind. And then 11% of people are just not interested in having panels on their roof.
All right.
Thanks for your participation.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. That just lets us know that's kind of in line with what we've heard. So I'll hand it over now to Danny Chiotos from Chaberton Energy. So please take it away. Thank you, Danny.
All right. Thank you. And thank you everybody for making it. Can you see my screen again?
Yep.
Perfecto. All righty, back here. There we go. So just introducing myself, I live up here in Jefferson County, just outside of Shepherdstown. I've lived all around the state from Monroe County and spent a while there in Charleston, working with nonprofit organizations, private solar businesses in state, really for myself, building up a more equitable energy landscape. Now I am working all around Appalachia and the region here, really zeroed in on policy and working with landowners to develop community solar from the get-go with Chaberton Energy. And so I'm going to keep my presentation relatively quick. I'm going to start my timer with time reserved at the end for questions. I'm trying to be high level, keep it basic. So if we want to dive in, please type in questions into the chat bar or hold them till the end, and we can dive into more specific subjects. With solar in West Virginia, two of these types of solar are currently happening and have historically happened, with one of them being the one we're really pushing for. Rooftop solar can be on the ground, can be on the roof of private homes, businesses, farms, nonprofit organizations, etc., are generally much smaller systems, anywhere from 5 to 90 panels, tends to be the size of residential systems on the roof or behind the meter. And those are really targeted in at being very small scale, very distributed, and really sized in to offset the electric load, the electric usage annually of each home or business or nonprofit. At the very other end, and those systems can be purchased, can be cash purchased, can be financed with a $0 down loan, or now in West Virginia, I saw Solar Holler is now offering leasing. So leasing is an option here in West Virginia for those systems that are really targeted in at small scale at the home or business level. At the opposite end, and this is where the solar landscape in West Virginia is really changing with the level of utility scale projects that are moving forward or may move forward. But statewide, we're seeing companies file interconnection applications to connect to the electric grid for solar facilities that are utility scale, that can be 200, 300, 500 acres plus per project. And those are generating raw solar electricity, and a lot of it, just to connect in and deliver clean electricity into our electric grid. We're seeing here in Jefferson County, one project outside of Charlestown is already being constructed. I drove by it a couple of days ago, and it looks like the metal is for the racking systems are already sticking up out of the ground. So in West Virginia right now, there's rooftop solar and ground mount solar that's been happening for a while. And now there's utility scale solar that's just feeding in with super large projects into the electric grid. What we're pushing for now, what we're introducing is community solar, which sits very nicely in between those two extremes. Community solar is a centrally located facility with it generally within the same electric utility as the people who subscribe to it, which is usually anywhere between about 5 and 60 acres per site, where the electricity generated from the site can be subscribed to by folks who, for whatever reason, either can't or don't want to put solar on their home. It can be blocks of community solar generation can be subscribed to by renters, by senior citizens, by business owners, by folks with bad roofs. But there's blocks of generation, local renewable energy generation that can be subscribed to by anybody living in the same electric utility as the facility. And as a general rule, community solar generation subscriptions are subscribed to at a rate lower than the electricity that it is offsetting. So if you're paying, say, 11 cents for your electricity now per kilowatt hour, you can generally subscribe to a community solar facility at 9 cents or 10 cents. So you'll get clean solar electricity that is net meter to your home, and your solar subscription will cost less than the electricity that you're saving. But it needs legislation to be passed at the state level, which is what we're introducing and talking to folks about, in order to enable this system to exist. It doesn't need state level subsidies. It doesn't need state level grants. It doesn't need state level tax breaks. It's really all about enabling legislation so that companies can build community solar. In every place that you see community solar legislation pass, the market just explodes. And in West Virginia has historically had relatively cheap electric rates. But what we're seeing is that West Virginia is paying the most as a share of household income for electricity out of any of the surrounding states, and that electricity rates are going up quicker than anywhere else in the country. So as a trend, we're seeing that there's increasing energy burden on homes, and community solar is the best way to reduce electric rates in the face of, the quickest rising electric rates in the country. And this reflects the poll, right? These are 3 reasons why folks can't go solar. There may be shading on the southeast west facing roofs that make solar uneconomic. It could be that there's a bad roof and the cost of replacing a roof just makes the project economically unfeasible. Or it could be that you're renting or an apartment building. And in each one of these situations, a subscription to community solar would be an option. You don't need to put solar on your roof, but you can get solar net meter to your home by subscribing to the output of a community solar facility. And increasingly, for financed systems, we're seeing that the interest rate has had a big impact on the $0 down financing option that many homeowners use as a vehicle to install solar. That the monthly payments have just gone up. So in addition to the physical factors shown on this slide, financing systems has gotten harder over the past year or so. So exactly, what's the alternative? Community solar is a centralized system, but distributed. It's not giant. It's not hundreds of acres like a utility scale project, anywhere from 5 to 60 acres, depending on the project. It's installed locally in the same service territory. So for Potomac Edison, for example, a project could be installed in Hampshire County with subscribers in Jefferson County. And folks subscribe to it in blocks. So you subscribe to a certain amount of electricity, and that amount is net metered to your home. And it's all done virtually. So you don't have a solar array on your home. These systems are owned by a third party. So a third party group of investors will own the system, finance the system. There will be a subscription organization that handles the subscriptions to the facility, and folks in the same electric territory will subscribe to the facility. You can move in the same electric territory. You can move from, in the case, Hampshire County to Jefferson County and keep your subscription as long as you're in the same electric territory. And so one thing that you may have seen is the sale of renewable energy credits, green power credits, where you can add, say, a block of 100 kilowatt hours per month of renewable energy at the cost of 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour to your electric bill. In that case, you're just buying these renewable energy credits from a usually industrial scale wind farm somewhere in the country. But community solar is different in that you're getting the net metering credits, the full net metering credits from a local facility in your same electric territory. And it can be, we've talked a lot about houses because residents are so key to community solar, but there also can be businesses subscribing. And there's a lot of Main Street business where a downtown business, a florist, has a larger electric usage, but a very tiny roof because of it's just downtown. They have smaller roofs, they're narrow. So that florist could subscribe to a community solar facility and market that they get 100% of their electricity from a in-state solar facility. Similar thing with a school, that a school could be what's called an anchor tenant to subscribe to a certain amount, a large portion of the solar facility. And all of this, what the projects look like, are all determined by how the legislation is written. But there's a variety of organizations and types of electricity users that can subscribe to the facility. Community solar is all about just creating the enabling policy so that private businesses can build and operate these facilities and offer a choice to businesses, nonprofits, local governments, and homeowners. So community solar is really banked and focused on the idea that we can do better than electric rates. That's the entire reason why community solar, there is a community solar market and it's successful, is because there is an economy of scale to building a 5, 10, 20 megawatt facility that's, thousands of electric panels. There's an economy of scale there that allows the project owner to offer electricity subscriptions at a rate lower than the electricity that it is offsetting, that net metering electric credit that the subscribers get. And it's really focused in on a lower electricity cost than what residents are paying. Many community solar markets mandate, not all of them, but many of them will mandate that a certain amount of generation or a certain amount of the project size or a certain amount of the program, depending on how the state writes the legislation, will be reserved for low and moderate income people. There's various ways that low and moderate is defined in state legislation, but community solar in an atmosphere where home ownership is expensive, not electric rates, interest rates are higher now. It's a real barrier to buying a home. That solar, through community solar, offers a way to net meter a system, get that real generation for your home, have it be an in-state solar array, and have it open to people who are renting homes, and have it open to folks who have credit scores below 650 or 600, have solar open to folks who can't or don't want to take out a 20-25 year loan, and really open up solar to low and moderate income people. Low and moderate income subscriptions is a key element of the explosion in community solar nationally. And it just opens up solar to so many people. And it's all in state. It's all, local or relatively local in the same electric territory. So for a solar facility, there are hundreds usually of customers who subscribe, customers being homeowners, businesses, et cetera, renters who subscribe to a facility. They buy these kilowatt hours that are produced by the in-state solar generation. That solar electricity is delivered to the electric utility. Now, importantly, the large utility scale stuff that's 300 acres, that needs to connect into a transmission line. That's the big stuff. That's the hundreds of feet tall lines that you see. But a community solar facility is much broader. So it needs to be close to what's called three-phase electricity, 3 electric wires on top of the pole, and that's much broader. So many more areas of the state and counties are eligible for landowners to lease their land to a private developer to build these facilities. So there's much broader of an area that these facilities can be built in. But a community solar facility will deliver electricity to Appalachian Power, Wheeling Power, Mon Power, Potomac Edison, depending on which utility territory it's in. And those credits for all of those kilowatt hours are delivered to the subscribers. So subscribers see, in the scenario outlined earlier, 11-cent savings by net metering. And then they pay the owner of the solar facility through a subscription organization, say 9 cents for the electricity they're subscribing to. And what that ends up doing is saving hundreds of dollars every year, depending on the size of their subscription. And it's short term, so it's a multi-year subscription, but you can back out if something changes or you decide to move out of state. It's a flexible subscription. And really, as renewable energy is being built out, rooftop is great, but not everybody owns a home or rents. There's a limitation there in the market, and it's just smaller scale, so there's not an economy of scale there. So it's a little bit more expensive overall to install solar on homes on a 1-by-1 home basis. Utility scale solar is fantastic, but it's just delivering electricity into the electric grid as cheaply as it can be done. Basically. Where community solar fits in is that it is a key element, I think, of expanding solar and building it out and 100% renewable energy, because it leverages economy of scale, but it also delivers these electric savings, job creation, distributed siting, et cetera, benefits, direct benefits to low-income people through usually the low-income subscriber will save more through a specific program on electric rates than a wealthier subscriber. So there's specific benefits to low-income people. And what we see is that oftentimes these distributed facilities, because if there is a upgrade to distribution lines that needs to be made, the facility has to pay for that. So a lot of times what we see is that putting distributed electricity generation around an area versus 1 or 2 centralized generation plants will help with community resilience and help the overall distribution system. And really where sites are built is key. So 5-10 acres on the smaller end, 60 acres on the larger end, all of that is the size of projects is determined by the legislation, because legislation tells developers and project owners how big of a site they can build, we can build. And community solar, because it's smaller than utility scale, is a little bit more flexible on where it can be built. Utility scale solar wants hundreds of acres. Community solar wants tens of acres. So a landfill, a part of a farm, oftentimes a surface mine, part of a facility can be developed into a community solar facility. And one piece of community solar, because as a rule, it's not always the case, but as a rule, solar and agriculture kind of want the same thing. A lot of times there's a choice that landowners have. Do I want to put this land to a solar system, or do I want to use it for cattle or sheep or tomatoes or what have you? But increasingly, what's being found and developed is the co-location of projects so that agricultural production and income happens on the same acreage as a community solar is sited. So the landowner, the agricultural producer, will get both their existing agricultural income as well as additional income, reliable, known for decades of community solar payments from the project owner for using their land. And as a benefit, but as a benefit, they get their shade for cows. Increasingly, what's being found is that vegetables, as it's getting hotter, tend to do better with a little bit of shade from panels, not full shade, but a little bit of shade from panels, and additional income for agricultural producers. So really, what we're talking about is opening up this market that exists in Maryland. Maryland just made it permanent. Virginia passed a community solar bill. They call it shared solar. That's exploding a few years back. Pennsylvania and Ohio are looking at legislation. Most of the surrounding states either have a program that is overwhelmingly successful or are looking at a program. And Ohio has a fantastic program that a couple of Republican delegates have proposed that would create a wonderful program that really weights projects in an interesting way. So Ohio is a great place, I think, for West Virginia to look for a program that doesn't contain any new or isn't focused in on creating new incentives, grants, etc., but is really focused in on enabling a market to exist and enabling the market to operate, to offer savings to subscribers, and to create jobs for folks in state. And we're holding questions to the end. I think, Leah, we're passing it to you to talk about legislation in the state.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Danny. That was great. We just had a question in the chat that's a perfect segue to this part of the webinar. And Alicia was just asking how she can get involved to help enable these programs here in West Virginia. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. During the last legislative session, we had 2 community solar bills introduced, one in the House and one in the Senate. The one in the House was introduced by Delegate Hansen, and the one in the Senate came a little bit later, but was introduced by Senator Rucker. She's in the Eastern Panhandle. And then it was also co-sponsored by Senator Oliverio. And I think the one in the House was introduced to the Energy Committee. Unfortunately, it got stalled out there. And then in the Senate bill was referred to the Government Org Committee and had a competing solar bill to expand the commercial cap on power purchase agreements. So letting entities like commercial entities participate in third-party ownership agreements, essentially. So somebody else owns and finances the system and you pay them monthly for the system. But community solar is different. Unfortunately, we had that competition. Our legislature tends to just pass one bill for solar a session, if at all. And so, but we did build a lot of really great momentum around enabling community solar programs last session. And so things that, that we invite you all to do is to talk to your legislators. Right now we're in the interim session, but this is a really great time to connect with them, If you happen to live in a district where, you know, in Mon, you know, County District, where Delegate Hansen and or Senator Oliverio live, it'd be great to have an in-district meeting with them and just thank them for their support on the bill, and to also just, you know, continue having conversations with them and engaging your neighbors and community members and other businesses to join you in some of those meetings. And we're happy to help arm you with fact sheets and talking points and all things community solar related when you're doing those types of actions. So definitely encouraging talking to legislators, building support by talking to each other. Some ways that you can do this is to get connected with West Virginia Environmental Council, and then also with West Virginians for Energy Freedom. We have action alerts and advocacy and things like that that will be coming down the pike. Right now, the two things that are live are a petition that we have, and then also an advocacy alert to email your legislators in support of community solar. And so you just put your information in there, and it just sends a message to the legislators that represent your district. And so those are two really great ways to just kind of get involved at the jump. And then, you know, if anybody's interested in co-hosting a community meeting, maybe you're a part of a garden club or a Rotary or something like that in your area, we'd be happy to join you to help facilitate, you know, community-based meeting around engaging folks on this issue of enabling community solar programs. And then also, you know, we're here to help draft any kind of earned media in the form of letters to the editor or op-eds. So yeah, I know I just like threw a lot of opportunities your way, but if anything sparked your interest, like, hey, I'd really like to do that, just please do let us know. Like I said, we're here to support. We would really like to see these programs become enabled in West Virginia, because it really just increases energy equity in a time where, you know, West Virginia ratepayers are just at the mercy of the Public Service Commission and monopoly-owned utilities. And so this is really a way that, you know, we can really get on top of that and outside of it and really just have more autonomy over our energy choices, and also build more resilience within our communities as well. So we have this resources sheet here. You can follow some of these links. Energyfreedomwv.org is where you will find the economic impact study that I put in the chat, as well as those two advocacy alerts and fact sheets and a legislative action toolkit that we will update for the upcoming session. But I think a lot of the resources in the legislative action toolkit can really just be retrofitted, just to fit the time that we're in right now. And so feel free to use, you know, the social media posts or anything like that if you feel inclined to do so. And then Solar United Neighbors has a very comprehensive guide to all things community solar. If this is something that you want to do a deep dive on and kind of nerd out, we've got 3 separate webinars that really get into just the depths of what we briefly went over today. And so just wanted to thank you all again for your time. And I think we will turn it over to Q&A now.
Great. Thank you so much, Leah and Danny. So I'm going to go through these. Could you please better explain what subscription by block means?
Yes. So it depends on how the market is set up by state legislation, but in some places, folks can subscribe to a, say, 1,000 panel facility. With block, they will subscribe to the output of 20 panels. That's one option. More commonly, people will subscribe to a certain amount of kilowatt hours every year. Importantly, that should be less than annual usage. So you'll subscribe to like 5,000 kilowatt hours. It's pretty solidly less than our home uses. And then for those 5,000 kilowatt hours that you subscribe to, your electric bill will be reduced by 5,000 kilowatt hours. So if it's 10 cents off of your electricity, through net metering, for easy math, you'd save $500 a year and maybe pay 9 cents per kilowatt hour. But you'd subscribe to that 5,000 kilowatt hour block of electricity, which could be, half or a third of an average residential home's usage. And that's through a subscription organization who you would pay separately from your electric bill. So your electric bill goes down, but then you have like a different bill that is paid to the subscription organization. In Maryland, they finally just simplified it so that all of that can be on one bill, which is great.
Great, thank you, Danny. Another question, are the production sites required to be in one spot, or can they be distributed throughout the community, like a big lot here, a small field there, a big roof over here, a barn there, etc.?
It is most common that in legislation, the state will disallow sites from being co-located. As a general rule, developers are always going to build as big as they can because of economics. So if you say that a facility will be, say, 5 megawatts, then that'll be 20 to 30 acres probably per site, but you can only have one 20 to 30 acre site per parcel. So a company couldn't build 5 of those all in one location unless the legislation specifically tells them they can. So more commonly, those 20 to 30 sites will be spread out through a community or spread out through a county or spread out through an electric utility territory.
I just
I'm
wanted to,
muted. Sorry, Leah, what were you gonna say?
that's okay. I just wanted to flag for everybody in the chat. Danny had referenced subscriber organizations. So they're kind of like the intermediary between the utility and you as a subscriber. And I was just gonna say West Virginia, and our national Go Solar team at Solar United Neighbors has created a platform where we kind of like aggregate all of these subscriber organizations together to make it easy for people to find community solar projects that are open for new subscribers in their area. And so just wanted to flag that for folks. When we do enable community solar in West Virginia, it'd be a good place to just go plug in your info and find a project that can service your needs.
Great, thank you, Leah. All right, we have another question. What if the subscribers use more than the production facility produces?
So in this scenario, so if you subscribe to, say, 5,000 kilowatt hours, that generation from the solar facility and those credits will be applied to your electric bill. For any amount of electricity over that subscription block, then you're just buying that from Appalachian Power, Wheeling Power, Mon Power, or Potomac Edison, like you usually would. So for part of your electric bill would be offset by the block of solar generation that you're subscribed to, and the rest of your electric bill will operate as usual.
Thank you.
And it would follow the same pattern as what's called behind the meter system installed on somebody's roof. It would follow that same pattern.
Great, thank you. We have another question. I see a large solar farm being built by me. Is that community solar?
If it's being built in state and it's giant, then it's almost definitely utility scale solar. That generation that goes directly into the electric grid.
Thank you.
Can I elaborate on that just for a second too? I know that Danny had mentioned earlier the difference between utility scale solar and community solar. And so, you know, the idea behind community solar, as we've talked about, is really just direct benefits to customers, right? A lot of times you can like see that you can achieve that through savings in addition to other benefits that you get through the value of a community solar project. But definitely the customer subscriber should be getting those cost savings from a project. Unfortunately, for example, if some folks on the call, I'm assuming, live in First Energy service territory or Mon Power, they are in the process of developing those really large utility scale solar projects right now. And they're in effect asking people to pay more for the solar energy that's going to be produced. That's not I think it really hurts the narrative of renewable energy being more cost effective. It's really just kind of a cost shift mechanism that the utility is using, because they have to have 80% of their project subscribed to before they can launch it. And so they're really trying to do that cost recovery by making their shares even more expensive. And so, yeah, just that's a huge difference between community solar and utility scale solar. In the way that it's kind of moving forward in the state right now, is that utility scale solar, unfortunately, is going to cost you more if you subscribe to those projects.
Great, thank you, Leah. We're almost out of time. We did have one more question, and then if folks need to jump off, that's we will be sharing all these resources in an email. I do have a poll at the end to ask you how you may want to get involved, and we can follow up. I see question of why go in for the only 1/3 of your yearly electricity? Why not as much as possible?
Right on. Getting close with solar net metering, getting closest to 100% as possible is best. So if you know that your home uses 15,000 kilowatt hours or 20,000 kilowatt hours, then you can subscribe to more. Getting closer to 100% is usually best.
And let's see, one last question, and then we'll take any questions too offline, and happy to help you there as well. Last question, since community solar facilities are smaller than utility solar facilities, would there be a limit on how many kilowatts a single subscription would be allowed to purchase? Sorry, did I say that right?
So that wouldn't be, so no single subscriber, residential at least, no single renter will get anywhere close to subscribing to affecting the project size to subscription. A hospital or a local government, like a city government, could. But usually with those anchor tenants, like single subscribers who use a lot of electricity, usually a state bill, a state policy will say that no single subscriber can use more than, say, 40% of the output, that 60%, for example, will have to be subscribed to by residents. And so residents, I think it depends on the program and the specific state, but residents can subscribe up to what they want to subscribe to. But that depends on the project, the state.
Okay, thank you so much. And then, Leah, are you able to do the last poll here really quick? We just, how can we bring West Virginia, community solar to West Virginia?
Before we wrap up, one thing I didn't say and I didn't call out is, the Inflation Reduction Act has, for West Virginia specifically, in siting community solar facilities, is a amazing help. So at the state level, we're focused in on creating policy that simply opens the market, but the specific tax credits that are created through the Inflation Reduction Act are going to have a big effect on directing the market on where projects are built. So just for an example, there's a tax credit for being in or adjacent to an energy community. And since those are clustered around this northern, central, and southern part of the state, there are going to be a lot of community solar projects that are built in the northern, central, southern part of the state. The economics of building a site in Jefferson County versus building a site in Boone County, if all other factors are the same, Boone County is going to win because you get a better tax credit. So there's this, so the Inflation Reduction Act does help in determining where geographically would benefit from a program. Somewhat that's going to be those communities that historically have been gas and coal mining communities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danny. And Leah shared your emails in there too. They're happy to answer any questions. And again, I will be sharing all the resources. But before we go, we just kind of want to get an idea of what people might be interested in ways they feel comfortable helping bring community solar to West Virginia. So Leah, could you let me see if I can do the poll. Nope, still not allowed to do the poll. Can you do the poll really fast?
Yep, it should be up.
Okay, great. And we are here to help you in any way. If you want to write a letter, we're happy to give you talking points, copy edit, submit it. If you want to meet with your legislator, we're happy to give you talking points, give you some training. If you want to host a community meeting, we just really need help finding locations and spreading word. Don't worry, you're not going to be the one baking the cookies and all that stuff. Like, we got you. We just need, someone in your community to represent your area.
Okay, I think most folks by now have responded to the poll. Maybe just give people a few more seconds here before we let you go.
Yeah, and this allows us to, like, how do people want to help too? This allows us to really push our campaign in a way that people can support us.
We got a little bit of everything represented here. Thanks so much, you all.
Awesome. And then I will be sending another resource out, another survey that West Virginia Environmental Council has, where you can kind of think about it a little bit more and read a little bit about it more and sign up to see how you might want to help. So thank you guys so much for coming today. Leah, if you could download those results for me, I would really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much again for your time. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much, Leah. I really appreciate y'all. And we will be sending the recording for y'all to share. And yeah, let's get community solar West Virginia.